Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking an absolute blockbuster of a moment in sports history, one that completely blew past the standard boundaries of the game. You know, when the history books are written about this one, they aren't just going to talk about the goals on the pitch. We are breaking down the absolute thriller of a 2026 World Cup clash between Iran and New Zealand. Let's just dive right into this, because the sheer emotion and resilience on display here make it a prime contender for the match of the tournament. To truly understand the gravity of what happened, you have to picture the setting for us. Just imagine SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles. The atmosphere is absolutely electric. I mean, it's charged by a massive crowd of over 70,000 fans, and the whole stadium is just echoing with these deafening, rhythmic chants. This wasn't your run-of-the-mill sporting crowd. The stakes were incredibly high, and you could practically feel the emotional weight in that building before a single ball was even kicked.
But to really grasp that vibe, we have to talk about the shadows hanging over SoFi Stadium that day.
Looking at the facts, this was a highly complex backdrop. Iran came into this match following a recent ceasefire, which happened after a bombing campaign by the US and Israel earlier that February. Right outside the stadium walls, you had protesters gathering to demonstrate against the government in Tehran, and inside, despite FIFA regulations, you had several Iranian fans flying the pre-Islamic Revolution lion and sun flag. Naturally, all of this required a remarkably heavy security presence. So it's absolutely crucial to remember that this wasn't just a game, it was a heavily loaded, intensely emotional environment for literally everyone involved.
And that political backdrop directly led to what was frankly an incredibly unequal build-up to this match. Just look at the stark contrast in how these two teams prepared. On one side, you have your Iran dealing with an absolute logistical nightmare. Because of the conflict, their domestic league was entirely suspended. Their training camp had to be suddenly shifted from the U.S. down to Mexico because of severe visa issues. In fact, it was so bad that 11 non-playing Iranian officials were blocked from entering the United States and couldn't even make it to the stadium. Then, on the flip side, you have New Zealand, the All-Whites. They enjoyed standard, stable preparations. They're heading into only their third ever World Cup, hunting for that historic first win, and carrying the pride of having gone completely unbeaten, you might remember, with 3 draws back in 2010.
For Iran, because of that suspended domestic league, many of their players went months without playing any competitive football right before the biggest tournament in the world. To put that into perspective, the physical and mental toll that takes on an elite athlete is just staggering. The odds were so incredibly stacked against this squad.
So against all those odds, the whistle blows, and the first half, full of absolute surprises.
Iran actually comes out of the gate firing. They started incredibly aggressively with a high press, fast transitions, and were clearly dominant. But then, out of nowhere in the 7th minute, New Zealand captain and Nottingham Forest striker Chris Wood expertly chests down a long punt. With just brilliant hold-up play, he lays the ball off to Elijah Just, who's a 26-year-old winger playing for Motherwell over in the Scottish Premiership, and without even a second thought, Just hits this phenomenal one-touch volley straight past the Iranian keeper, 1-0 to New Zealand, completely against the run of play.
You could probably hear a pin drop among the 70,000 Iranian fans for a second, but then they just rallied and roared their team on, and hey, it worked. 32nd minute, Iran builds this massive pressure on the right side. A shot gets blocked, the ball falls loose, and who has the quickest reaction in the box? Ramin Rezaeian. He pokes it right past the advancing keeper to make it 1-1. What makes this equalizer so crazy is that Rezaeian was one of the guys who hadn't played a minute of club football since February. So that goal, it wasn't just the point on the board, it was this massive, explosive, emotional release.
And if you thought the first half was wild, the second half delivered non-stop drama right up to the final whistle.
Coming right out of the locker rooms, New Zealand strikes again in the 54th minute. Once again, Chris Wood is the provider with this precise sliding pass. Elijah just beats the Iranian defense and hits a stunning first-time hammer strike for his World Cup brace, 2-1 New Zealand. All of a sudden, the All-Whites are agonizingly close to finally tasting that historic first-ever World Cup victory. But Iran simply refused to quit. Resilience was literally the defining story of their night. 64th minute, Rezaeian, who already has a goal, remember, delivers an absolutely perfect cross from the right. The height, the weight, the timing, it is flawless. Mohammad Mohebbi makes this masterful run through the defenders, launches into a diving header, and the ball glances off the far post and in. 2-2. The fans literally shook SoFi Stadium. The team just collapsed into this massive group hug. It was totally breathtaking to watch.
When the dust finally settled on this match, we really had to look at the unsung heroes who pushed this game beyond its usual boundaries.
First off, we've got to talk about New Zealand's captain, Chris Wood. 0 goals for him, sure, but he was undeniably the heartbeat of the match. His intelligence, his link-up play, and his ability to hold up the ball gave him 2 vital assists. Without that completely underrated masterclass, New Zealand's dream of competing at this level today just wouldn't have materialized.
And the individual storylines here are just wild. Ramin Rezaeian drops a goal and an assist on the world's biggest stage, despite having 0 competitive club football for months. Elijah Jess goes from a relatively unknown winger at Motherwell to scoring a stunning World Cup brace. But above all, the Iranian squad displayed unparalleled resilience. These guys were facing immense geopolitical pressure, essentially playing against the world, and they fought back from behind twice. For 90 minutes, they absolutely transcended the protests outside and the shadows of war back home.
So, what does this actually mean for the rest of the tournament? Well, Group G just blew wide open.
I mean, look at the absolute chaos this result creates. Thanks to this thrilling draw, the group is mathematically perfectly level. Belgium, Egypt, Iran, and New Zealand are all sitting dead even on exactly 1 point. It has instantly become the most unpredictable group of the entire World Cup. Any single one of these 4 teams can still make it to the knockout stages. It's anyone's game. Which leaves us with this final thought. We saw a nation's struggle channeled into 90 minutes of pure willpower. We saw a massive underdog from Oceania push for historic glory. We got spectacular goals, crucial assists, and a politically charged atmosphere that proved football is truly a global language. So I gotta ask, was this the match of the tournament so far? Let me know what you think. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. I hope it helped you grasp the true magnitude of this incredible fixture. Keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.